Oh my goodness. Welcome back. Hello, the Chris and Veronica show. Hello, my name is Chris.
Hi, my name's Veronica.
chrisandveronica.com. Oh, yeah. Welcome to the podcast. Thanks so much for being here today. It's great to have you with us. If you are watching on video, chances are you're on YouTube. If you're watching on, well, listening through the audio, I know it's been one of those days. Then you're probably on Spotify. So, hello, Spotify people. Thanks for listening in. What are we talking about today, Veronica?
Ooh, one of the things that I feel everyone needs to learn, financial literacy.
Financial literacy. That's so boring.
I know, but it's so needed.
It's true. People, the idea that we should be financially literate and also be able to do some smart money management of some kind. Yeah, I mean, it's an important topic. People should know about it.
It is. Well, not only that, but I know my father's way of saving was put your money under the mattress.
Right. Yeah. I mean, what's his address again? Just kidding. Yeah. It's that is your cash going to be good underneath the thing? Like, is it going to, what if a dangerous thing happens, like a fire, whatever, like all your cash is gone, right? And then there's the idea of do you trust financial credit, like financial institutions? Yes. Do you, invest in the stock market, or do you feel like you're going to lose your shirt? Do you invest in companies, or what would that look like?
How do you even go about it?
Right? Yeah. Venture capital, all these things.
Or
right?
What's that app called? The one that, you put $1 a day or something like that.
Yeah. Like Acorn or some of those
Is that
things.
Yes,
where,
yes.
Or even just at your financial institution, they can be put on an automatic savings plan and put money from checking to savings. What are all these things and what are we talking about, right? That's where financial literacy really comes into play. When we're talking about personal finances, we're talking about business finances. Again, these are just going to be some of our thoughts on these. It's not financial, what is it called? We're not giving you financial advice. We're just telling you
we are not experts.
Right?
This is our lived experience. And hopefully you'll learn from our mistakes or from things that hey, I wish I would have known this sooner.
Absolutely. I remember, so I was working at Bank of America, back in the day.
Of course you were.
Floating teller in the King Market. Hi, everybody out there from back then. I miss you. You're wonderful people. And I remember I got my kind of first credit card from them, right? And I was like, ooh, this is kind of cool. How does this work? What is this? And at the time, I was an employee of Bank of America, so I got special rates and stuff, right? And so this was 25 years ago. So my relationship with credit has been fairly lengthy when you think about it overall, even starting with a small credit card at $500 that went up to $1,000, that went up to $1,500, that went up to $5,000, these credit limits, right? Typically, if you do good with it, they're going to increase it over time. And so if you can manage your finances in that way, then maybe you're going to start looking at different points credit cards and finding ways to be able to play the points game. Biggest things I usually say if people are starting out on that side, find something that has a no annual fee, something that's going to be able to build your credit, even if it's a secured credit card at $250 or $500 or something like that.
So what does a secured credit card mean, Chris?
Secured credit card, yes. It means that you put some money, let's call it $250, into a savings account or something. The bank hangs on to that $250, and then you get a $250 credit limit or $500 credit limit to be able to build and grow your credit. So that's a secure credit card. A lot of times secure credit cards, they actually do have an annual fee or some sort of fee that's on them, but it's a good way to be able to build your credit if you have zero to be able to start with. You can also have somebody co-sign for you on a loan or something, right? I don't recommend it. For most people, I say if you can do it on your own, do it on your own,
Yes.
right? And try to make that happen.
Because it's also tied to them. Because if they mess up, then guess what? It's your account.
Yeah,
That
on
gets
that
dinged
account.
as well. I did that for somebody. She was needed to get out of a relationship. She needed to rent a U-Haul. She says, hey, do you mind if, can you co-sign? Can you add me to your credit card? And I said, sure. Yes.
No, ma'am.
We're not friends anymore.
No, right? Yeah, money ruins relationships, and sometimes it can ruin, and sometimes it can be positive, right?
Yes.
So being smart with
I think if you have boundaries and rules set in place, but when it comes to money, no. This is, you said what you were going to do. If you can't do it, then we can't, right? I think that is definitely a difference because, hey, Chris, can I borrow $100? I don't know when I'll be able to pay you back. At least you know up front versus, hey, Chris, can I borrow $100 on the 15th? I'll give it back to you.
Right.
Totally.
Or hey, can you just give me $100 and I'm never going to pay you back, right? Be honest
Ooh,
from the
has
onset.
anyone ever asked you that?
Oh, for sure. Yeah. Yeah.
Really? Interesting. I've never
Mm-hmm.
had anyone say, I'm never going to pay you back.
Uh,
Now,
mm,
they've never paid me back.
right? This is where if you know your finances, if you know where you're at, and if you know like my cell phone's going to be cut off, I do not have the money to pay my cell phone bill. And hey, could I have, $200 to pay off my cell phone bill? That's different than somebody saying like, hey, I'd like to be able to borrow XYZ because I'm going to pay you back. In that sense, I'm like, if you can't pay your cell phone bill, chances are there's not going to be a big paycheck coming anytime soon. So let's be honest with each other and know
Yes.
that it's just your cell phone getting paid for, right?
Yes.
Like that kind of thing. So it's yeah, smart things to do with your money versus not. I think that in the beginning, I think about when I was very young, right? Went to church and everything,
When
and
you're a wee lad.
this is a wee lad. And I learned financial money management because when I did a job out and about, let's say like mowing lawns or something like that, or got an allowance, right? $2 would go into, at the time, it was Interwest Savings Bank in the Pacific Northwest. If you're around and you've known that for a very long time, that's great. Yes. And I would like go and put money in there. And then I kept a register on my savings account. And this is when I was just like a small child, right?
Hmm.
So I had financial money management from the get go when I was very young to be able to learn. Later on, I started getting into things like, hey, this is a stock market portfolio and the ways that you can manage it, the ways that you can diversify internationally, and the ways that you can diversify when you are like in the US and US sector in different types of like
Hmm.
verticals. Let's say it's like technology, let's say it's like mining, let's say it's vehicles, let's say it's, gas or like some of those other energy type products or real estate investment trusts or things like that. So there's other things to be able to do in the financial money management side of things when it comes to like stocks and bonds and all of that. So the primary thing I would say for people that are starting out, especially young people, if you can dollar cost average over time by saying, I am, let's call it 18 years old, I got my first job, I'm going to start a traditional IRA and a Roth IRA, and I'm going to max it out each year by putting money into that, and it's going to be the same amount every month, and those get into no load mutual funds or something, right? That's a good way to be able to start on the investing cycle, and you can do that consistently over time, and then it compounds, right? So all of the money that you put into it compounds, all the interest compounds, and because you're doing it consistently, literally, like if you do anything every day, some positive benefit is going to be there as long as it's a positive behavior,
Yes.
right? The idea of like, if I'm walking every day and I'm walking for an hour every day and I'm watching the foods that I eat, chances are I'm going to be able to maintain my weight. I'm going to be able to maintain my health and like all of that, right? That is a positive thing that you can do every day in your physical life. And then your financial life is saying for every dollar amount that I receive in, I'm putting percentages into savings, short term and long term. And I'm earning more than what I spend. Sometimes that means saying no to things as well, right? Like I am not going to go do that thing because I know it's
Hmm.
going to be expensive. I'm not going to Hawaii this year. I'm not going to go do this vacation for the next 5 years, whatever that is. It also means making sacrifices and sometimes relationship sacrifices with your friends, right?
Yes. A lot of that. I know when I started Cave, there was things that we needed filing, to get two licenses because for those that don't know, you need your Washington business license, but also your city of Tacoma license. That was unexpected expenses that I didn't think about, and all the little things, right? So I had to like, oh, guess what? We're not going to be able to go out as much. We're not going to be able to spend this much, and I had to create a budget to get through that first month. But also, I want to say that it's never too late to save. It's never too late to learn. And just little things, right? I tell people, you're getting ready to go spend $100 buying lottery tickets. If you put that $100 here, it'll really make a difference. Now, you won't be able to live off of that, but you're adding something. And I think once you make that choice, you become educated. You realize, oh, do I really need to buy this car of the year? Do I really need to and buy this? And you start noticing your lifestyle habits.
Lifestyle habits, lifestyle creep, right? The idea of like, I can take the bus every day. I can walk every day. I don't need a vehicle, right? Like, what does that look like? If you're
Yeah.
living in a downtown core or something, you don't
Hmm.
need a vehicle to be able to get around. You have access to everything. So it's like taking an Uber twice a month is considerably less expensive than all the costs of car maintenance or ownership. And that's like on the personal side. One of the things that you brought up was the idea of like business revenue, business income, and the things that you can live off within business, and then the taxes that go along with
Oh
that,
gosh,
right?
yes.
Paying taxes, it's a whole thing. And I think that people, entrepreneurs and business owners get into business not realizing the amount of taxation that exists
Yes.
for small businesses, for solopreneurs, for, growing businesses and things like that too. So on that side, I always think about the 50% rule. If you have income that's coming into an LLC, we'll call it $100. If that's coming into an LLC, maybe even potentially 40 or 50% of that is going to be going towards taxes. And then you have another 50% to be able to maybe draw out personally. And maybe you're going to do a draw against
Hmm.
that 50%, like that you take out, you're now down to $50. Another half of that is potentially going to be going to the government. And so then you have $25 off of 100 that you're making.
And operating expenses. I had
Hmm.
to list all the things that it takes to run the company, right? All the little things, the QuickBooks subscriptions, the tools that I need to make sure that I'm running events smoothly. That all added up, and I said, "Oh, we definitely have to expand our what comes in automatically goes into different accounts." And I had to up that limit because I was like, "Oh wow, okay, I didn't think I was spending this much." Right?
Yeah, the idea of like small businesses and supporting small businesses. If you have $100 that you're going to spend somewhere and it's for a good or a service, let's call it a service, right? Because then there's
Hmm.
not necessarily any hard costs that are tied to it, like socks or something, right? Just a service that somebody's
Yes.
providing. If it's $100, at the end of the day, realize that person is only making $25 off of that 100, right? If
Wow.
their business is laid out. It's why you
Yeah.
think about the 1 to 4 ratio on any dollar amount that you're putting on your pricing for business. So, on the business side of things, I go through in my business advising and I tell people if you are not doing a 1 to 4, then chances are you are likely owing back taxes in some way
Hmm.
because you didn't realize that that's a thing. Or you've paid all your taxes and now you realize that you don't have any money left to be able to live on, right? That's a hard place to be as a business owner. And it's why a lot of businesses in the first like 1, 2, and even 3 years will end up folding because their pricing isn't at a point that they can actually support having more staff members on. If you know that you have a staff member that you're going to be paying, let's call it $100,000, it means you need to be making $350 to $400,000 worth of like revenue into the business in order to support that one person at roughly
And that's just one.
$100,000. That's just one,
Yes.
right? Imagine if you have 2 or 3 or 4 employees, right? Even on the lower side of that, if you're thinking that somebody's going to be doing $40,000 or $50,000, you're still at 200, maybe $250,000 in top line revenue to pay for that employee because you also have L&I taxes. You also have payroll taxes to be able to support them, right? There's a lot more that goes into that. And that's just on a service based business.
Hmm.
Think about now if I am selling products and my product is, it costs me $15 to make my product and I'm selling it at $30, you have a $15 profit margin on that. How much of that $15 profit margin do you need to sell to get up to $350,000 to afford your $100,000 employee on $15? So
Or
350,000 divided by 15, right?
Or I have a client, he's a general contractor, and he said he's licensed, bonded, insured, and he said the insurance almost doubled to be bonded. He said
Yeah.
it. He says I wasn't expecting that. I was not expecting anything. So that's something else you have to think about, right? And buying your own tools and investing in a vehicle and all these other things, right? All the fees to make a dump run, all these other things. Definitely, I think one of the things, if it's like anything, personal finance, figure out what you need to live, plus also to save for that emergency. The rule of thumb has always been 10% of what you bring in should go to your savings, and that's just being the minimal, the minimal.
Yeah, yeah, savings is so important. And then that like downside risk protection, right? That's how I think about insurance. It's a downside risk protection. So if there's something that happens that's unexpected, a lot of times you're going to expect that insurance is going to be able to step in and help or support in some way. And you really nailed it on the head where insurance rates for property and casualty and even for healthcare are increasing year over year. They have not stopped increasing, right? And this is causing huge things for small businesses, for businesses in general. And I think about even just the home care business, right? If somebody is in a group home and doing a home care business, the insurance for that is through the roof right now, right? Especially if you have medical care that happens within that
Mm-hmm.
facility. That's a huge expense. You add
Mm-hmm.
on medical care plus property and casualty, because of the things that are happening within underneath that roof, and it gets super expensive to be
And
able
that
to
staff,
and the staff to
the
take care of them,
maintenance, everything.
right?
Yes.
And so just even in that side of things, it gets very expensive very quickly to be able to protect yourself on the downside.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a lot to be able to think about when we're talking about personal finance, business finance, and just being responsible in that space as much as possible.
Yes. Yes. I also wanted to add that I was present when a friend of mine was trying to open a business and they told him no because of his personal banking experience. So they're thinking, you can't take care of your own personal finances. You've had a bankruptcy. How do you expect your business, right? So that ties in as well. Make sure your financial literacy, um, your personal life, because it's going to kind of like bleed over to your business side.
Yeah, yeah. Personal finances leading into business finances are definitely a thing. And trying to keep track of all of that is a lot. It's a lot for people to be
Yes.
able to keep track of. But on that like personal side, you want to make sure that your personal credit is taken care of, even in some cases, evictions, right? Let's say that you go for a commercial real estate lease,
Oh, I did not know that.
right? Sometimes they might even look at your personal
Okay, that
lease
would make
history
sense.
because
Yes.
they're saying, well, as a business, are you going to pay the rent, right? To be able to be in
Hmm.
this place. As a person, did you pay for your rent to be in that place over there, right? And so it's this like,
Yes,
it's always this balancing act to make
it
sure you have it
is.
right.
But that would make sense. I ran a housing program, and one of the things was you can have a record as long as it wasn't anything damage to property. So I can see why having, going for a commercial lease that would kind of bring up, that would make sense. It would go line in line, align.
Yeah, and even for the state of Washington, when you're asked to create a business license, they're going to ask about your personal credit history. They're going
Hmm.
to ask whether or not you are currently subject to any lawsuits,
Or
right?
if you're currently going through litigation.
Yeah. And those types of things where they're going to say, like, oh, it's not necessarily a no, but let's take a look at it and see what's happening. So those
Hmm.
are different factors that tie into it as well. But yeah, financial literacy for individuals, financial literacy for businesses, how to be able to build credit, how to be able to establish and grow it over time for you and for your business. Those are all huge conversations that I think that people should be like more involved in. And even
It's needed.
it is. I think about even when I was in like elementary school, right? They didn't necessarily go through and be like, this is a checkbook and how a checkbook register works, And for people that are listening, if you don't know what that is, that's a whole thing as well, because now we're in electronic banking, right? So we're in a different
Hmm.
kind of a lifestyle now, but the same principles apply where you need to know what you're spending, how much you're spending, where you're spending it at. Oh, that's
Sorry.
the alarm. That's the alarm. That means we're almost to the end. That's great. And so yeah, you have your like your checkbooks and stuff, but now with electronic and online banking, we have the debit cards that go directly out of your checking account. We have credit cards that are going to be operating in different ways as well. So these are all things. Anyway, financial literacy, money management. Final thoughts.
It's never too late to start.
Yeah, never too late to start. I think find people that you trust at financial institutions to be able to sit down and have those conversations. As much as I love friend groups, as much as I love business groups, literally like go into a financial institution and ask them about courses that could be available. And a lot of those are free for people to be able to engage in as well. So
Or your community.
Yeah,
Go out to the community, go out to the libraries, go out to the workshops that are being offered for free.
absolutely. Cool.
Yes.
Yeah, that's our time anyway. We're at 20 minutes. So thanks so much for listening in. Again, the Chris and Veronica show. Hello, my name is Chris. This is
Hi, it's Veronica.
chrisandveronica.com and then Chris and Veronica show on all the socials. Thanks so much for listening in on podcasts and for watching us on YouTube. Stay tuned for our next episode coming out soon.
Have a good one.
Have a great day. Pew, 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 pew.
Brr, brr, brr.